Hello and welcome to another day on Cornwall Pocket Farm, where I try and figure out how to live sustainably on 300 square metres in the city. Well, today it's the big prune. It's a bit late because as I mentioned before on my other video, I actually sprained my ankle, so I've been avoiding sort of going up ladders, and it's actually taken a bit longer than I thought to fix. So yeah, a few weeks later now, but it's still time, and we're in August now, so there's a couple of things that have just started to think about budding up. But most things are still dormant, so I'm going to get out there and start the prune. And I have been also waiting for a dry day because the weather we've been having has all been wet and windy and a bit of sun, but then some more rain, and it's actually been quite wet. But today we have clear blue skies. I think it might rain a little bit later on, but fingers crossed, it's quite dry at the moment. So I'm going to get out there. We've got lots to prune. How far I will get along with the pruning, I don't know, but I'm going to give it my best. And then if I don't manage to do it all, then I will do it another day. When you're doing a job like pruning, it's really good to have the right equipment. I kicked off this garden with some very cheap things and a few second-hand things that I just found just to do the job. But as I've gone along, I've tried to replace them with better quality things that will last a long time. So I think was it my birthday last year? I think it might have been. Anyway, my birthday last year, I asked for some secateurs from my husband, and I sent him the link of exactly what I wanted, which were these Felco secateurs. So I've got these. They're a bit muddy now because I use them a lot. They're particularly good for a small hand. I have quite small hands. I can't remember the number of it, but they're particularly for small hands. And all of the parts of this are replaceable and sharpenable. That's a word, I don't know if it is, but these are absolutely brilliant, and they're so much better than the old ones that got all rusty, and I couldn't really do anything with them. With that in mind, this year's present was a new pruning saw. My original pruning saw was very cheap, plastic, and from Mighty 10, and of course it has gone rusty and it doesn't cut anymore, and there's nothing I can do with it. This one, this new one, this is a Gomboy. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to put it up. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so this is a Gomboy made in Japan, M3B, I think. And I set the husband the task of finding a really good pruning saw that all the parts could be replaced and that it could be sharpened, and so that it would last for a good long time. And this is what he came up with, and I have used it a couple of times so far, and it is brilliant, because of course when you get a new saw, the first thing you've got to do is go out and chop something. So I did that already. But now of course the big prune is on. This is what I'm going to use. So hopefully that should make the job a little bit easier than struggling along with this rubbish thing that's gone completely rusty. Anyway, I've got these two tools. I've got some scissors and some string, obviously to tie things in as I go along. And then of course I also have my my ladder that I bought maybe a couple of years ago, and I really like that because it's a carbon fibre one and you can pick it up. It's really lightweight to move it around. It also, when I open it up, it has a nice platform at the top that I can stand on, and it's just the right height to get up to the higher things in my garden. And it also has a sort of a rest that you can lean forward against, which means that you know where things are. And it has a tool tray on the top, so I can put the bits and pieces I need there as well. So those are the key pieces of equipment I have. And also, of course, I'll have gloves, because if I get round to it, I want to try and attack that rose as well. But the first job, I think, is going to be the grape, because I don't want that to kick off and start budding up before I've pruned it. So come with me and we'll get on with the job. Okay, so that's the long run along here. I'm just going to do the piece up here outside the courtyard. The other thing I'm going to do is, in between pruning each of the plants, I'm going to wipe my tools, the blades of this, down with some bleach. I looked on YouTube and I've got all the instructions. Basically they say that you need to sort of sterilize the equipment so you don't pass disease. So that makes sense, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to try and tackle is this Madame Alfred Carrière rose. I've looked online, and very much like the grape, actually I shouldn't explain the instructions for the grape. So when I looked online for the grape that goes along the pergola, the instructions basically were on any of the spurs that came off the main stem, just to leave 2 buds and then snip. So that's what I've done all the way along there. I've left a spur, two buds, and then I've snipped. The other instruction was basically that you wanted a sort of fist width between the spurs for maximum grape production. I don't know as we're there yet. With anything that grows, I always figure that, hey, I can prune it again next year and see what happens. So things grow, and if you get it wrong, you have another go the next year. But with the rose, similar thing. It's basically, there's a prune acronym, essentially. P, which is prepare, which takes out anything that is sticking into your eyes or getting in the way. R, which is remove the dead, dying and diseased. This is the one I have problems with, is the U. That's stand back and understand your rose. Yeah, I don't know. I think we need to be in therapy, me and the rose, because I don't really understand it. I don't think it understands me. Yeah, no, we work together and hopefully something will work. One of the things is that we have found that all of the roses are up high. So if I get any branches, stems, whatever you call them, coming out lower down, I might try and do something with those this next year. But essentially what it says is, off your main structure, you want to allow, you want to keep the shoots that are going up, and then you want to prune those to 2 sort of nodes, leaf nodes, bud nodes, whatever you call them. So yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do. Oh, after the understand your rose, it's N. N is something like neaten up and take everything away, and E is something like enjoy your rose. So I'm going to try and do my best with this. But anyway, come along and watch and see how we go. Rather than going with the acronym, I tend to just move along and take out what I can, because otherwise I'm going to get up and down and up and down and up and down, which gets quite tricky. So yeah, I'm sort of taking out dead and dying and diseased, I'm taking out spindly, and I'm cutting everything down to 2 nodes. And then I'll stand back and try and understand it. I don't know what that spells. I don't think it's prune. Okay, so I'm going to finish this and bring you back once I've done the other side as well. Okay, so that's the rose pruned pretty much. It looks pretty naked, but that's the idea. Just take all the foliage off. I've tied it all up. I'm toying with actually bringing this side a little bit lower, but I'll need to put in some support wires to do that. So for the minute, I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so the next pruning, I'm going to prune this elderberry. I prune it really hard, and then every year it just puffs right out again. So I've already had a bit of a hack at it, because when we were doing this structure and starting to get this organized, I had a go at it then. So I need to prune it a bit more because it is already budding up. So this is the next thing. It's not rocket science. I just go at it hard and it doesn't seem to damage at all. Okay, I think that will do. I've just basically chopped it down a bit. It's not rocket science. It'll just puff away. And then this whole thing will be full of elderberry and we'll be able to fight our way into the banana bed. Okay, so now it's the big fig tree. It's, again, you can just take this down really low. I mean, I took it way down here when we moved in and it just sprouted back. I have been pruning it twice a year, but I've decided now just to prune it once a year, just at this time of year. I think the idea of twice a year is that you get a bulbous crop, like 2 crops of figs, but we've never managed that, so I'm just going to do it once a year, so I'm going to give it a really good haircut now. Okay, how does that look? Okay, next is the apple tree. It's a bit of a challenge. It's not playing ball, it won't shake nicely, so there could be quite a lot of me standing around going, I'll cut all that bit out. But anyway, it's not a very big tree, but it just isn't growing in the right way. So, yeah, there's always time, isn't there? But hopefully we'll get it right soon. Hey Maggie. Oh, hello. Anybody want to guess what time it is? Yes, it's walk time, isn't it? We'll have to wait. I'm going to do this last fruit tree and then we go. Okay? Ready? Okay? Yeah. Okay, we'll do one more fruit tree. Yeah. Hello girls, are you helping? It's the next day now. I finished pruning the apple tree, that small apple tree in the chicken run, and I actually had to take off quite a big chunk of that, so it's a little misshapen, but there was sort of rot in one of the branches, so I took that off and it was getting quite late in the day and I'd had enough. So the next day now, and we're going out, I've got to do the wedding day rose, which is over the arch, over the entranceway. I've got to do the avocados. That's always a bit of a challenge because I have to sort of look, because it's the way they work is you plant it as a family planting, so there's 4 trees in what, just over a metre square, and the idea is they all grow intermingled and then they're easily pollinated between them and amongst them because it sort of attracts quite a lot of pollinators. But because they're all intertwined like that, I have to sort of follow the branches up and figure out which tree it's attached to before I can chop it off. So it's a bit of a challenge. But I've got to do the avocados. What else have I got to do? I've just got to trim down the side where the neighbours' trees are coming over a little bit more. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I think we're pretty much done after that, actually. There was one more thing. I can't remember what it was. No, I think that's it. So we're on the home straight. I think we're nearly there. So let's go into the garden and I'll finish those things off. Need a hat. That's better. Even in New Zealand, in the middle of winter, you need to have a hat because the sun is so strong here that even winter, well, I mean, I've got quite pale skin as well, so, but even in winter you can get burnt if you're out here a lot. And obviously there's sun's rays. Yeah, so hat. Okay, so that's pretty simple. I just go along 2 buds, maybe 3, snip it off all the way along because I've got the structure that I want now. I really just need to sort of keep it in check. It had already started to sort of got a few leaves bursting, so I probably should have done it a little bit earlier, but I don't know. It's all pruned now. I think that'll do for this year. So yeah, avocados next. Okay, so I have taken out the middle of the avocados, so sort of made a bit of a hole in the middle, if you like. I've got a huge pile of stuff here that needs to go on to get mulched. But I think the next bit is I actually need to get onto the top of the chicken coop and also the shed to trim it back a bit. So it's also starting to rain. So what I'm going to do is pop you guys inside so that you're not going to get wet, and then I can attack this a bit more, and then I'll show you what it's like when I've really pruned it back. Okay, well, it's all done. Oh dear, it's a relief to get it all done because it's been really late because I hurt my foot and I've just been so aware that things were budding up and starting to flower and all sorts. So I'm really pleased that all that is done. I'll show you around, show you everything that I've pruned, and then also the huge pile of material that's sitting on the carport because, oh my God, there's a lot of material. I'm actually going to enlist the help of the husband and we'll mulch all that this weekend. That's the apple tree now that we've got remaining, and you can see that I actually had to take that entire limb off because it was a bit rotten. I don't know if you can see it just there. So, but anyway, it will bounce back and grow some more. So I've given that quite a hard prune this year. And sort of, I think of that as sort of down to its 3rd tier. So essentially this low bit where it divides is the 1st tier, then there's another tier there, and then the 3rd tier comes up there. See, I've done the wedding day rose across the arch, across the entrance. It's a bit difficult to see the avocados, but hopefully you can see I've sort of pruned them down on the top a little bit, and I've sort of opened up the center. Because what I want is I want the new growth to sort of grow into the center, and I'm trying to, I don't know, sort of sort out these trees so that they work in the little space that they've got. But I mean, hopefully they'll come away. We will see, won't we? And then of course there's the Madame Alfred Carrier rose that goes along the front. I've pruned all of that to 2 buds. And also the grapevine that goes all the way across the top there and all the way along the pergola. That's all been pruned to 2 buds as well. I did a little bit more pruning on the espaliered here because they just needed a little bit more tidying up. So not much at all, but I just wanted to make sure that they were ready for the spring growth. So they've just been tidied up. So that's all sort of pruned against the fence and sort of relatively shortish, it will puff up and fill that entire space through the summer. And I've also pruned the bougainvillea. There's a baby bougainvillea just there behind the citrus, just here at the top. I've pruned all that back because it does, even though it's a baby bougainvillea, it does get a little bit out of control. And I've done this citrus. I've just pruned them for a little bit of shape and just to tidy them up. And I've pulled out all of the geraniums that were in the base this year because they were just getting a bit of a mess and climbing all the way through these things, and it wasn't really working. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to put in there yet, but that's thoughts for tonight, I think. The other thing I've done is just pruned back the overhanging branches from the neighbours' plants over there, just so that they don't fall over and go into the pond. So that's all tidy as well, which is good. And these are the spoils. So this is all of the fig and sort of overhanging branches from the neighbours. Over there is avocado prunings. In the middle there we have spiky, so that gets run through the mulcher separately and then goes on the banana bed. So that has the rose prunings and also the bougainvillea in that. And then this is more sort of overhanging foliage and general bits and pieces that got trimmed, citrus, things like that. So that's it. Just we need to get the mulcher out now and get it done.